Now in this session, we'll talk about some basic aspects and operational issues with the filtration process. We'll discuss about the basics of filtration. We'll talk about two particular equipment and we'll look at their operational issues with their advantages and disadvantages. So at the end of this talk, you should be able to conceptualize the basics about a filtration process and know in some details the operating principles of a couple of equipment. Now to start with, to understand the process itself, just think about the vacuum cleaner. So vacuum cleaner is an example of a filtration process where you see that there are two sides. Those are separated by a filter. Now within the vacuum cleaner, a fan moves to create a vacuum on the inner side of the equipment. The outside is at the atmospheric pressure. So with creating a vacuum, a pressure drop is created between these two sides of the machine. And the materials that will separate these are typically of special fabrics. It's really a layer of fabrics that do not allow particles larger than some size to go through. So what happens when there is this pressure difference between these two sides? Air moves through the filter medium. However, the solid particles in the air are trapped on one side of the filter medium. That's how separation takes place between air and those particulate solids. So that's the basic operating principles of most of the filtration process. However, the driving force for this movement of the fluid may be different. Another example is what is called this sink strainer. If you look at your sink strainer, there is a screen at the bottom, and on top of that you see materials start collecting, and after some time really those materials work as a filter to remove some other materials. So the retainer retains particles larger than some sizes. Now in the sink retainer, the flow is due to gravity. In the vacuum cleaner, the flow is due to the pressure difference between these two sides. Now few terminologies used in filtration operation. What is filtration? It's a separation process where solid particles in a fluid are mechanically removed by using some porous medium. So again, it's a mechanical process. Like separation process can be of different types that might involve heat energy. This process does not involve any heat energy. It's a mechanical process and uses a porous medium for the separation to take place. The feed that contains the fluid and the solid particles, that's the slurry. The porous medium that separates the solid, it's called this filter medium. And for cake type filtration, the accumulated solid on the filter surface is called this filter cake. And finally, the liquid that goes through the filter and collected is called this filtrate. So we'll use this terminology consistently throughout the discussions. Now for any separation process, there are desired products. For example, a distillation process will have a set of products. All of those are desired products. But for filtration, maybe either of the two separated streams, namely the fluid stream or the solid that's trapped on the medium, can be product. In many cases, either of these are desired product and the other one is discarded. But also in some cases, neither of these two are the desired products. For example, for separation of waste materials, simply maybe the solids and liquid cannot be disposed together, so they needs to be separated before disposal. So in that case, there is filtration takes place. However, none of the products are the desired products. For water purification, maybe the water filtrate is the desired product where the solid is discarded. For the sink strainer, you can see that you separate the liquid from the solid simply because you cannot dispose the solid along with the liquid. That's why you separate those two, dispose separately. And that may be the case for many industrial operations as well, where you do separation simply because you cannot dispose solid materials in the river or whatever stream that you are using to dispose the liquid. Now I've seen two examples, the vacuum cleaner and the sink strainer. In those cases, for the vacuum cleaner, a vacuum is created and that gives the driving force between these two sides of this filter medium. Now also you can apply pressure force to generate a driving force that will allow separation of particles if a pressure is maintained between two sides. Again, conceptually those are the same. There is a pressure difference maintained. So you can have pressure filtration where you pump the slurry to the filter, and on the other side is at a different pressure, which eventually leads to flow of the liquid through the medium, and solid cannot go through the medium. That's why it's trapped on the surface. Similarly, you see that we can create a vacuum in one side, and that will create a pressure difference, and you get the flow of fluid. You can use this gravitational force again. A head of slurry is maintained on one side over the medium. That's how the fluid goes through the medium. And you can do the same using what is called this, creating a centrifugal force. In that case, centrifugal force causes the fluid to go through the medium, and the solid is trapped on the surface. Based on the force, the operation can have these 4 different types. Now, filtration operation can be done in 2 modes. One is called this continuous mode, another is called discontinuous filtration. Now, the second one is called discontinuous, not batch, simply because there is a continuous flow of liquid or gas through the filter medium. However, after a certain time, the operation needs to be stopped to remove the solid material. That's why it's called discontinuous and not batch. On the other hand, for a continuous operation, the slurry is continuously fed to the system, the materials are removed continuously from the filter surface, and the operation is continued without stopping the filtration process. Now, based on the separation mechanism, the filtration process can be different. The first one, what is called this cake filter. Now, in this process, what is done? At the beginning of filtration, some solid particles enter the pores of the medium, and those are immobilized inside the pores. And then the solid start to collect on the surface of the medium, and a cake of solid start to form on the surface, and after some time the cake itself does the filtration. You can think the same thing about this sink strainer case, where you see that initially on the surface of the strainer there's some material deposited, and it start depositing more materials, and you see a layer of materials formed on the sink strainer, and after some time that material themselves work as the filter medium. And that's the basic idea in cake filtration. The cake becomes the filter medium after some time, and in fact the cake does the filtration. So when the cake gets thick, it must be removed. And other than this gas cleaning using a bag filter, cake filtration really used for liquid solid systems. So filtration can involve either solid liquid or solid gas systems. This cake filtration process is typically used for solid liquid systems. We need to periodically remove the cake. That's why the most operations are discontinuous for the cake filtration process. The another type is what is called this clarifying filter. It's used in many water purification operations. It's really designed to collect a liquid that is as free as possible from solid impurities. And the filter is constructed in a way to remove the very smallest particles suspended in the liquid. You can think about for water purification, a thick bed of sand is used as what is called this clarifier. And when water passes through this sand bed, the very fine particles in the water are also removed. So that's how it's called this clarification process. Another type of operation, what is called this cross flow filtration. You can think about this cross flow filtration similar to the cake filtration process. However, you see in this case the materials flow in a cross direction with the filter medium. So there is the filter medium, materials flow in this direction, and because of a driving force exists between these two sides, and the filter medium does not allow the solid to go through, it allows only the fluid. The fluid passes through the filter medium, and in this process the liquid is trapped on the surface. Now, what's the advantage of this cross flow filtration process is that because there is a flow in this direction, the solid deposits are removed from the filtration surface. For the cake filtration process, all the solids deposits on the filter medium. However, for this case, a large part of the solids are removed from the filter medium. That's why you need to stop the operation to clean the solids after a longer time compared to cake filtration. So that's advantage of this cross flow filtration process. And the filtered flow does not drop as fast when compared to the cake filtration. So cake filtration, as the solid starts building up, the pressure drop of the liquid becomes higher and higher. Here the solid buildup is slower. That's why the pressure drop happens at a lower rate compared to cake filtration. Now, the uses of filtration is really many. For different purposes, filtration is used. For example, for purification, for water, chemicals, or pharmaceuticals to produce clean, pure, and free of contaminants, filtration are used. Because in lots of the process, solid particles are involved, and we need to remove those solids to produce pure and contaminant-free products. For water treatment, for eliminating the sediment, sand, gravel, and carbon and other suspended particles, filtration is used. Filtration is also used for protection of the equipment. You can think about your car. There is an oil filter, meaning the oil before going to the engine, there is a filter that really removes any solid particles from the oil so that it does not get into the engine and cause damage to the engine itself. So in that way, it protects expensive machinery that can be damaged by the solid particles. Another example is the pump. Because pump rotates at high speed, if there is solid particle, it can cause damage to the propeller in the pumps. Also, it can cause abrasion if the solid material is abrasive. In that case, you need to remove those solid particles to protect the pumps. Also, for the safety of personnel, filtration is used because it avoids the contamination and maintain the quality of air inside a workplace. Another is the product isolation. The solid and the liquid products need to be separated from each other. That's done through filtration. For example, the crude oil, when it comes from the rig before further processing, oil is separated from the sand. So these are some of the examples of filtration process. There are other numerous examples. I just highlighted a few here of different types. Now we'll talk about some basic operational aspect of selected equipment for filtration. Now it's not possible to cover all of the different machineries available. However, we'll cover two filtration equipment which are commonly used in the process and chemical industry. One of those is what is called this plate and frame filter press. Now you can see a picture of this plate and frame filter press here. It's a combination of frames and plates. Now if you look at this plate and frame, the differ is that there is a solid surface for the plate. However, for the frame, the inner area is hollow. So now how does it work? You have plates and frames. Those are put alternatively. And it makes the entire filter press where the plate and frames are arranged alternatively. Now feed is coming through the hole going through each of these plate and frame. For the frame part, there is an opening here where the feed enters into the frame. Now on both sides of the frame, there is the filter medium. When the feed goes into there, the liquid passes through the filter medium. However, the solid is trapped within the frame. The liquid comes out on the plate side, and on the plate side there is this opening here to collect the filtrate. There may be channel for filtrate collection on individual plates, or there can be a common line to collect all this filtrate. So again, the operation is like this. Plate and frames are arranged alternatively, and there are filter medium on both sides of the frame, and that filter medium allows the liquid to go through, and when liquid comes on the plate side, it's collected from there. The solid continues to deposit on the frame side, and after some time the solid needs to be removed. So that's why you need to dismantle the press and collect the solid from the frame parts. That's the summary of this filtration operation. Plates and frames are assembled alternatively with a filter cloth over each side of the plate or frame. The plate have channels cut in them so that clear filtered liquid can drawn from each plate. The feed is pumped into the press and flows through the duct into each of the open frames. So the slurry fills the frame. The filtrate flows through the filter cloth, which is the filter medium. The solid builds up as a cake on the frame side. The filtrate flows between the filter cloth and the face of the plate through the channels to the outlet. The filtration proceeds until the frames are completely filled with solids. At this point, the frames and plates are separated and the cake is removed. The press is then reassembled and the cycle is repeated. So this again a discontinuous operation. So it's not batch in a sense that before it stops running, there is a continuous flow of the filtrate. However, after some time it needs to be stopped. That's why it is called a discontinuous operation. Now there are certain advantages and disadvantages of this plate and frame filtration process. Its construction is very simple and a wide variety of materials can be used. It provides a large filter area. You can increase the length of the filter press, and you are using filter on both sides of the frame. So within a smaller area you can have relatively large filtration surface. It's versatile in a sense that its capacity being variable according to the thickness of the frames and the number used. So you can use the same filter press, just simply increase or decrease the number of frames and plates within some limits, and then you can run the operation for different capacities. It permits the use of considerable pressure difference. So with the pressure difference, you can maintain the flow of the filtrate. So in that way, it's also efficient operation. The washing of the cake is possible to be done efficiently simply because using the same water channels, the cake can be washed. The operational maintenance is straightforward because there is no moving parts. You will see one of the key aspects in machinery design is whether there are lots of moving parts or not. And in that sense, the plate and frame filtration process is quite simple and easy to maintain. And for operational issue, any leaks are visible, so you can easily identify any maloperation of the process. Saying that there are certain disadvantages of this operation. One is that the flow of filtration may not be very high. So if you require a very high throughput, this may not be the perfect equipment for filtration. It's a discontinuous process. So in that sense, it's time consuming. You need to dismantle the process, then clean it and reassemble again. The filter press is expensive because dismantling and this cleaning will require lots of labor cost, and also because of this dismantling there will be wear and tear of the filter medium. Operation is critical in a sense that frames should be full, otherwise you cannot wash the cakes, so you need to run it for at least certain time before you can do the washing. And again, because it needs dismantling and cleaning, it's a discontinuous operation, there is high labor cost involved in the process. To overcome some limitations of this plate and frame filter press or similar discontinuous operation, there is this rotary vacuum filter. It's a large scale and continuous operation. That's what is desirable in many filtration operation, where you need a high throughput operation, also where the slurry is containing high portion of solid. So this rotary filtration is a continuous process that has an option to remove the filter cake on a continuous basis, so that you don't need to stop the operation for cleaning. So the structure is simple. It's a metal cylinder mounted horizontally, the curved surface having perforated plates, and it supports the filter cloth. Internally, it's divided into several sectors, and separate connection is made between each sector and a special rotary valve to collect, filtrate, washing liquid, and so on. So here is the operating principle of the equipment. You see there is a rotary drum here, and there is a filter medium on the surface of this rotary drum. So this drum, it rotates at a certain speed depending on how much solid you need to remove and what's the desired thickness of the cake. So the slurry is here, and as it rotates, there is a vacuum force inside the drum. So due to the vacuum force and the presence of this filter medium, only the liquid goes through the drum and inside of it, where it goes through the channels for collection of the filtrate. As it moves out of this, there is called this drainage zone. In that zone, the further liquid material is removed. There is a vacuum pressure inside the drum, and that creates a force for the liquid to move inside the drum where the cake is further dried. Then there is this washing zone where a liquid, typically water, is used to wash the cake. Again, in this part inside the drum, there is a vacuum created. That's why the liquid goes through the filter medium and inside the drum, where the cake remains on the surface. And there is this drying zone where in many cases a hot surface is used, or further creating a vacuum, the remaining liquid is removed. Finally, at the end, there is a knife that's used to remove the cake from the surface of the drum. In that case, there is a pressure force applied from inside the drum that causes easy removal of the solid using that knife. So that's the basic operating principle of a rotary drum filter. This is used in industrial operations, and because of its continuous nature, it's commonly used, and its size can be very different depending on the particular requirements. So this operation is described here. A cake of desired thickness is produced by adjusting the speed of the drum. The different sectors, those are immersed in turn in the slurry. When the cake forms, the cake is drained and partially dried by the vacuum. The drum is sprayed with water to wash the cake, and pressure is applied under the cloth to aid the removal through a knife. And removal of washed and partially dried cake is effected by means of this doctor knife. Here is just a pictorial representation of this operation. You can see the cake formulation, how the cakes are there and how it is removed as product of different sizes. Now again, like the plate and frame filter press, the rotary vacuum filter has also some advantages and disadvantages. It's an automatic process and it's a continuous process. So the labor costs are very low. The filter has a large capacity, so it's suitable for filtration of highly concentrated solution. So you can have large drums and that will be able to remove a large amount of materials present in the slurry. By varying the speed, the cake thickness can be controlled. Also, there are options for pre-coating the filter that helps formation of the cake and accelerate the filtration process. Some disadvantages of the rotary filter. It's a complex piece of equipment. So we have a vacuum pump, a vacuum receiver, slurry pumps, and agitators. All involves moving equipment. So in that sense, it's complex and expensive. Sometimes the washing and drying are not efficient because with the air drawn to create vacuum, the cake may start to crack. So because we need to create a vacuum, the pressure difference is limited, which is typically within 1 bar. And it's suitable for some straightforward slurries where the slurry does not contain much of chemicals that can cause damage to this moving equipment. So in summary, we have talked about some basic aspects of the filtration operation, and we have discussed two specific type of equipment commonly used in process and chemical industry, namely the plate and frame filter press and the rotary drum filter. Thank you.